What's good, family? What's good, family? Children is live. Children is live. I am going to do a sound check, and we shall begin the stream. All right. So what's good? Is anyone here with me right now? I do not see anyone here. Okay. All right. Sound is good. It's getting a bit cold here in Melbourne. Summer's over, sadly. Especially here in Melbourne, it does get a bit cold, but not as cold compared to, say, Canada or the UK or anywhere else in the Arctic Circle. I mean, it's still pretty warm here in winter, but occasionally we do get -3 in the night, but it's good because you snuggled up in bed, so it's easy. Yeah, today was just under 20 degrees today in Melbourne, and tomorrow is going to be about 18 degrees. So yeah, a bit cool, but I wouldn't say cold. It's just a bit cool. But yeah, summer's over, and yeah, it's autumn now and almost winter here. But yeah, tragedy is upon us, people of Africa. The airline 737 Boeing 737 Max 8S belonging to Ethiopian Airline, okay, crashed on the 10th of March, which was Sunday here. We got the news, and it's really sad what had happened. You know, the news was everywhere, especially here in Australia. It was all over the channels, the news channels. There is a big community of Ethiopians here. And for those of you who have been following my channel, you know I have a lot of Ethiopian friends. And one of my episodes, the barber shop, we are on episode 3. And yeah, I do this in my mate's barbershop. He's Ethiopian. His name is Solomon. And yeah, we are all very sad, you know, especially someone like me who loves traveling. Okay, I love traveling. Like I'm not afraid of death, but it's not about being afraid of death or something of that sort. It's just the loss of life, you know, the loss of innocent life. Okay, that is what's it's about. It's so sad, you know, to lose innocent lives, especially in 2019. Okay, 2019, where we have technology has advanced so much, you know, and we're still having air crashes. It just baffles me. You know, it baffles me why we should have airlines crashing in 2019. You know, a few years ago, you know, one of my dreams, one of my dreams growing up as a child, you know, uh, I wanted to be I wanted to be a mechanical engineer and also aeronautic engineer, specifically aeronautic engineer, and work on airplanes. And then I got an interest of design. So um, I've always thought of ways to make airlines safer. And in 2019, there's been a lot of theories and a lot of um, designs that have people have created that would save a lot of lives, but you know the airline companies are reluctant to improving the ways that they approach airline safety or aviation safety. So it's really sad that you know airline safety hasn't improved since 1918 when the first airplane was invented. When the first airplane was invented, basically the only safety mechanism in a crashing airline is jumping out with a parachute. But come on, 100 years later, and we still haven't found a way to preserve lives. Yeah. Saying that is right. The aviation, one thing you hear is the aviation industry always come up saying that although these tragedies have occurred, but aviation holds a record of being the safest means of transportation. But come on, you have no chance of surviving. You have no chance of surviving when an airplane decides to go down. Your chances of surviving is only 5%. Only 5%. And throughout history, um, the chances of any survivors on a crashing airline or an airline doomed to crash is it's only 5%. 95% of people lose their lives. So what are they talking about? What are they talking about? So it is really sad. So in your thoughts, and prayers, please remember the victims. Mind you, the victims are not the people that lost their lives. Okay, they're dead and gone. The victims are the families. Okay, the victims are the families, the surviving families of those that lost their lives in the said accident. Yeah, so I am quite distraught about this development, and I've been waiting for a better moment to talk about this on my stream. So yeah, I have 3 people watching at the moment. Let us know who you are if you just joined the stream. If you join us live, say hi, and I'll be reading some of the news articles, and we should talk about it. So everyone throughout the continent of Africa, everyone has extended their, especially the heads of states of all the countries in Africa have extended their condolences and expressed their sorrow. Everyone knows that Ethiopian Airline is the #1 airline when it comes to Africa. And my very good friend Wadi Maya was recently in Ethiopia, and he's been traveling around Africa in Ethiopian Airlines or Ethiopian Airways. So the news is really touching. Over 30 nationalities were involved in this tragedy. So it's really made this news explode all over the world. talking about 32 Nairobi Kenyans, even Moroccans, Europeans. I think two Brits, 18 Canadians. There were no Australians, but you know, it's a global village. Okay, so everyone is affected. Okay, it's not about if your nationality is involved or not. Okay, everyone, tragic loss of life, innocent life for no reason than human error. It's really sad. I find it very sad. So without much ado, I am going to read a bit of the news articles, and then we'll see where we go from there. All right, so yeah, I'm going to share my screen, and we should read a bit of the news articles. Present to everyone. Okay, so I'm going to start with some articles from GhanaWeb.com. Okay, there's a Ghanaian president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Okay, consoles Ethiopians over plane crash. So President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has consoled the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Mr. Abiy Ahmed, on the crash of an Ethiopian Airlines plane yesterday, which killed all 157 people on board. A statement from the Jubilee House yesterday said the president, in a message to the Ethiopian leader, said, "Like all Ghanaians, I have been deeply saddened by Sunday's news of the tragic loss of 157 lives who perished on board an Ethiopian Airlines flight from Addis Ababa to Nairobi in Kenya. On behalf of the government of the people of Ghana, I extend deep condolences and sympathies to the families of the deceased and to you, Mr. Prime Minister, the government and the people of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia in these difficult times. May the souls of the departed rest in peace." The crash, according to the statement from Ethiopian Airlines, the aircraft, a Boeing 737 MAX 8, which was carrying 149 passengers and 8 crew members, lost contact with air traffic controllers some 6 minutes after takeoff, crashing near Bishoftu, southeast of the Ethiopian capital. It did not say immediately the cause of the plane crash, but I indicated that the plane was a new one and had only been delivered to the airline in November. The pilot, who had been working for the carrier since 2010, sent out a distress call shortly after takeoff and was given clearance to return. Ethiopian state media stated that more than 30 nationalities were on board flight ET302, including 32 Kenyans, 9 Ethiopians, 18 Canadians, 8 Chinese, 8 Americans, 8 Italians, 7 French, 7 British, 6 Egyptians, 5 Dutch, 4 Indians, 4 Slovaks, and 2 Spaniards. So yeah, there you go. Statement from Nana Akufo-Addo, president of Ghana, okay, expressing his sorrow and condolences to Ethiopia. So yeah, this is really tragic. Okay, this is really tragic. So this is the main news article from GhanaWeb.com. Nationalities of those who died in Ethiopian Airlines flight. Okay. The Ethiopian Airlines says it believes 149 passengers and 8 crew members were on board a plane that crashed 6 minutes after taking off from Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa, on a flight to Nairobi. In the latest update, Ethiopian state media reported that all 149 passengers and 8 crew on board the Ethiopian Airline flight died when it crashed shortly after takeoff. Quoting Ethiopian Airlines, Fana Broadcasting Corporate said the plane, which departed the Ethiopian capital Addis Ababa at 8:38 a.m., crashed minutes after takeoff, killing all the 149 passengers and 8 crew aboard. A spokesperson for Ethiopian Airlines says that among the dead in the crash are 32 Kenyans and 17 Ethiopians. Asrat Bigashaw said that 31 other nationalities were also among those on board the new Boeing 737-8 MAX plane that crashed, killing everyone thought to be on board. Authorities said other victims include 18 Canadians, 8 each from China, the United States, and Italy, 7 each from France and Britain, 6 from Egypt, 5 from the Netherlands, and 4 each from India and Slovakia. Spain's foreign minister said 2 Spanish nationals were on the passenger list. Records show that Ethiopian Airlines passenger plane that crashed shortly after takeoff on Sunday morning was a new one. The plane spotters civil aviation database shows that the plane, a Boeing 737-8 MAX, was delivered to Ethiopian Airlines in mid-November. Meanwhile, Ghana President Akufo-Addo, in a series of tweets, has offered his condolence to Ethiopia and families of the deceased. Akufo-Addo said he was saddened by the news of the tragic loss of 157 lives. Okay. So yeah, so there's a table of the nationalities that were on board the plane. We have 3 Austrians, 1 Belgic or Belgian, 18 Canadians, 8 Chinese, 5 from Netherlands, 5 Dutch, 1 from Djibouti, 6 from Egypt, 2 from Spain, Ethiopian 9, France 7, UK 7, Indonesian 1, Israel 2. It's very interesting that the same airline crashed in Indonesia last year in October, killing I think 180 plus people. And it's sad to have an Indonesian lose his life in the same aircraft elsewhere. So we have 2 Israelis, 4 Indians, 1 from Ireland or Irish, 8 Italians, 32 Kenyans, 2 Moroccans, 1 from Mozambique, 1 from Norway, Poland, 3 from Russia, 1 from Rwanda, 1 from Saudi Arabia, 1 from Sudan, 1 from Somalia, 1 from Serbia, 4 from Slovakia, 3 from Sweden, 1 from Togo, 1 from Uganda, 8 from USA, 1 from Yemen, 1 from Nepal, 1 from Nigeria, and 2 are yet to be identified. So it is said that no Australians were involved. So we know that there are no Australians here. So the Guinean president Nana Akufo-Addo tweeted, like all Guineans, I have been deeply saddened by Sunday's news of the tragic loss of 157 lives who perished on board an Ethiopian Airlines flight from Addis Ababa to Nairobi in Kenya. Okay, so his second tweet was, on behalf of the Ghanaian government and people of Ghana, I extend deep condolences and sympathies to the families of the deceased and to Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, the government and people of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia in these difficult times. Okay, so again, yeah, so just going through, these are the images, and I'm not going to play those. Okay, I'm not going to play those. I'll move on to the next news article. JPV, welcome to the stream. Very sad news has befallen us. Ethiopian Airlines and Shamak Hassan. Here, thanks for joining the stream, family. Yeah, hi man. Hi, how's it going? We are very, very sad. This is not how anyone should lose their lives. In 2019, this is not how we should lose our lives with the advancement in technology. Okay, there's so many, like I was saying before, through my education years of being a mechanical engineer, I have even thought of practical theories, ways that could improve aviation safety, but it looks like they're not willing to implement those strategies to save lives. So far the most practical approach is used by the use of capsules. Capsules that will click to the cockpit, okay, where it would detach from the main driving components of the aircraft in the case of emergency or in the case of malfunction. Okay, so these capsules will detach and land safely by ways of parachutes or other forms of propellers. But it's really sad that these people that run the fossil fuel industries, they're just interested in making so much money. Okay, they just interested in making so much money that they don't care about people's safety. It's 2019. We should not be depending on fossil fuels. Okay, we have other means of energy. So we have solar energy, even hydrogen, other means of energy, and we're still relying on fossil fuel. So these people are so busy trying to make money. And the news about the Boeing 737 was that the new aircraft was manufactured to be 20% fuel efficient than the former, which sent a lot of airline companies buying them, and apparently China had put in order to buy about 150 plus aircrafts. I mean, 150 plus 737 max 8s. So it's really sad. These companies are just money hungry. That your safety is not the concern. Your safety is not a priority. So I remember years ago, JPV. I remember years ago, the same airline took off from Addis Ababa and crashed in the Indian Ocean, killing everyone. Or was it that one? I remember that too. Was it the same airline? It would have been the same Boeing 737, but it's not the new one. The latest one is a Max 8, which crashed 6 months ago in Indonesia. Okay, so these I think these 737s were the Max 8s were commissioned last year. They were commissioned last year. So yeah, the one that crashed off the coast of Madagascar? Yeah, the one that crashed off the coast of Madagascar. Yeah, that was the older version. So yeah, they, the news had, is so frantic that all the airline companies have grounded all the 737s. So it is really, really sad for people like me who loves to travel. For anyone who loves to travel, this is really sad. I mean, the question I'll be asking before I board any new flight is that, am I safe? Okay, and this should be the question of everyone. Ask if you're safe to board this plane. What is the guarantee that you're safe on this flight? So yeah, as you can see, uh, JPV. I also remember in the late 70s, Boeing's DC-10s were crashing left and right. Yeah, the DC-10s, right? The DC-10, JPV. You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised that Ghana has turned their DC-10s into a restaurant. It's very, very interesting. The DC-10 is only good enough for a restaurant, apparently. So Ghana has sent a statement to Boeing that your DC-10s is only good enough for a restaurant. So yeah, it's really sad. But I really like the DC-10s though. They were quite beastie though. I've never flown in a DC-10. I think I'm too young. I'm too young for the DC-10s, but yeah. Um, from all the videos that I've been seeing, the DC-10 was quite beastie, you know. But they've been decommissioned, so DC-9s were safe. Though how ironic. Yeah, you would think that JPV, you would think that with the level of technology that we have, the advancement in technology that we have at current, you would think that airlines would be safer. But in the past 10 years, the amount of airlines that have crashed is just appalling. It's just so sad. You know, it's just so sad. Australia has a very, very good reputation for aviation safety, but Australia's had a lot of near misses, and kudos has to be given to pilot training as well. Okay, pilot training. Okay, pilot training also counts, even though the pilot on this doomed airline, the Ethiopian airline, apparently has about 200 hours of flight time. Okay, apparently it's still not enough. 200 hours is still not enough, and it's sad that usually the domestic flights are usually given to like student pilots and stuff. So I would say it's quite, inexperienced. If you're doing, mm, yeah, yeah. So 200, yeah. Because flight from Nairobi, if that plane, apparently the same plane traveled from South Africa that morning before going to Nairobi. Okay, that same airplane came from South Africa. So it has to be something to do with a pilot error as well, or pilot inexperience. So the JPV, I never took one from what I remember. I did take a DC-9 though as a kid. Oh right, okay. Um, JPV, I was on a 787 from London to Nairobi. Okay. How was that one? How was that flight? So 787 is the big one, isn't it? Yeah. It could also be the maintenance gone wrong. Well, they said that eyewitnesses. I'll read the article. They said the eyewitnesses were said that it was what is it? They said there was smoke coming from the airline, back of the airline. So there must be an explosion. Okay, there must be an explosion. There was smoke trailing the airline. So it might be an explosion, but the pilot made a mayday call, and complained that the plane was diving. So the aviation expert, initially BBC correspondent from Indonesia, was saying that it had to do with the sensor or the nose of the plane, which detects the angle of climb or the altitude of the airplane, but that sensor had failed, so it gave a bad reading. So yeah, I suggest the foul play. Ethiopia is, there's a lot of tension in Ethiopia. There's a lot of tension in East Africa, and just recently, Rwanda is having a little beef with Uganda, um, and stuff like that. There's so much tension in East Africa. I just can't fathom it. Why there should be so much tension in East Africa like that? But when you look at I hate talking about bad news on my channel. I always love to promote positive news, but you can't rule out foul play. You can't rule out foul play, especially when there's smoke trailing the airline before it crashed. Okay, so this is not a it's not just a simple issue of an airplane just losing control and crashing. Okay, when there's smoke, eyewitnesses are pointing out that there's smoke coming out of the airline. So now they still haven't got to the black box yet. They've just retrieved the black box, and they're still analyzing the black box, and no real information has come out yet. So they're beefing over Watermeyer. Yeah. No, I don't think it's got anything to do with Watermeyer, but I am happy. I am happy Watermeyer is safe. Watermeyer is safe and sound. So yeah, Watermeyer is safe and sound. But there've been a lot of militia groups in Ethiopia, and with Ethiopia's relationship with Kenya, Ethiopia's relationship with Somalia, and stuff like that, and stuff like that. Kenya's relationship with Somalia. There's so much tension in the Horn of Africa, but I really applaud Abiy Ahmed's approach, in dealing with the tension in East Africa and bringing everyone together. So yeah, but yeah, foul play, JPV. Foul play cannot be ruled out. Okay, foul play cannot be ruled out. Anyway, I'll read some more of the article. Okay, more nations ground Boeing. Okay, so this is on March the 12th. Okay, March the 12th is actually Mauritius Independence Day. So whilst we mourn this tragedy in Ethiopia, okay, we also celebrate victory. We also celebrate Mauritius Independence Day. Okay, we also celebrate Mauritius Independence Day, March the 12th. So more nations ground Boeing 737 MAX 8 as black box is found after Ethiopia crash. So so news article from the Sydney Morning Herald, so Sydney, Australia. Gara Boka, Ethiopia. China and Indonesia grounded their fleets of Boeing 737 MAX 8 aircraft on Monday as witnesses recalled the terrifying spectacle of smoke and debris trailing from an Ethiopian Airlines plane before it crashed, killing 157 people. The disaster came 5 months after a jet of the same model came down in Indonesia, killing 189 people and prompted a global aviation safety scare. So there's a video on that crash site. The Ethiopian Airlines 737 MAX 8 plunged into a field minutes after takeoff from Addis Ababa for Nairobi on Sunday. The victims came from more than 35 nations and including 22 United Nations employees. So apparently they're gonna have a United Nations summit in Ethiopia, and this thing took place. Okay, so the plane was very close to the ground and it made a turn. It looked and we looked and saw papers falling off the plane. So if something like that happened, there would have been an explosion. For things to start flying out of the airplane, right? There would have been an explosion. So yeah. So JPV, it could also be maintenance gone wrong. Yeah, I read that. That was with Kenya Airways. It was good. Okay, you flew with Kenyan Airways. Foul play. The beefing of a water mile. Okay, I read that. Ethiopia, Shamak, Ethiopia is on World War. I don't think so. I don't think it's that far. Ethiopia is one of the progressive countries in Africa. So although they have their little squabbles going on, but I trust Abiy Ahmed to fix things in Ethiopia at the moment. So the United Nations headquarters is in Nairobi. Oh, that's what they're doing. And so they're all heading to Nairobi for the United Nations summit. Right. That's right. Yes, thanks for that, JPV. So yeah, the plane was very close to the ground and it made a turn. So the plane being close to the ground was gave the indication that the sensor that controlled the height or the climb of the airplane was faulty or gave a faulty reading. So the pilot couldn't tell how high they were climbing. But then again, if we have papers falling off the plane and smoke trailing the plane, then there would have been an explosion. Okay, there would have been an explosion. So yeah, cows that were grazing in the fields ran in panic. There was smoke and sparks coming from the back of the plane. The plane tried to climb but failed, then swerved sharply, trailing white smoke and objects including clothes before crashing, said farmer Tamirat Abira, who was walking nearby. Investigators seeking to find the cause of the crash discovered a black box with both the cockpit voice recorder and digital flight data on Monday, Ethiopian state TV said. However, an unnamed airline official told the Associated Press that the box was partially damaged and we will see what we can retrieve from it. So this is the BS coming here, okay? When they say something like that, you know they're trying to hide something partially damaged. So what? It's a black box. Why in 2019 you make a black box that will be partially damaged? A black box is not meant to be damaged. So when they start putting in these kind of things, you know they're trying to cover up certain things, you know? So yeah. Boeing's share price plunged 11% on Monday at the prospect that two such crashes in such a short time could reveal flaws in its new plane. The company has already accepted orders for more than 5,000 of the new high fuel economy planes, which entered service less than 2 years ago and are set to be the workhorse for airlines around the globe for decades. I think Germany bought some as well. Some time ago, Germany bought some as well. I think the Lufthansa also bought some of the new Boeing 737 because of the fuel economy. I was reading an article like that. Oh, was it? Yeah, so it was the news about the A380s, okay, because a lot of people were not flying the A380s. You know, the A380s can sit quite a large number of people. I think 800 passengers. 800 passengers? Am I exaggerating? 400 passengers. But you know, it usually flies without the airline being filled up. So a lot of companies are saying that it's not economically efficient flying the A380s because they're just too big and they can't fill them up. So Germany bought a lot of them and they're trying to get rid of them. But the A380 is quite safe, one of the safest airlines. So Shamak said 2020 war. Ethiopian Airlines is the most biggest and reliable as well as profitable airline in Africa. Double I, thanks for joining the stream. Yes, it is. Yeah, the Ethiopian airline is Africa's best airline so far. It has the most destinations throughout the world. So yeah. And Double I also said Ethiopian's airline also has the largest fleet and most routes out of any African airline. Okay, yeah, you're right about that. Okay, you're right about that, Double I. Thanks for joining the stream. Yeah, so this tragedy is really sad, but we will not rule out foul play. Okay, once there's smoke coming out of the engines, it's foul play. It's foul play. Maintenance error, maybe. Maintenance error, but the plane. Come on, the plane had just flown from South Africa and landed safely in Ethiopia. Okay, so you can't tell me that the next minute, 6 minutes after takeoff, it's crashing. So yeah, we're yet to find out what exactly the issue is once they get into the black box. So the 737 line has flown for more than 50 years. It's the world's best-selling modern passenger aircraft and viewed as one of the industry's most reliable. The new MAX 8 variant with bigger engines designed to use less fuel entered service in 2017. By the end of January this year, Boeing had delivered 350 of the new jets to customers, with another 4,661 on order. Boeing stock slide, if maintained through normal trading hours, would be the biggest fall in Boeing stock in nearly 2 decades, halting a surge that has seen it triple in value in just over 3 years to a record high of 446 US dollars last week. So various worried nations took swift action. Ethiopian Airlines, which has 4 other 737 MAX 8 jets, said it was grounding them as a precaution. China ordered its airlines to suspend their 737 MAX 8 jets by 6 p.m. Noting that the accident involving newly delivered planes had both taken place shortly after takeoff. The Civil Aviation Administration of China, CAAC, said it would notify airlines when they could resume flying the jets. After contacting Boeing and the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration, FAA. So Indonesia, where a Lion Air 737 MAX 8 went down in October, also said it would temporarily ground the model for inspection. Cayman Airways grounded both of its new 737 MAX 8 jets temporarily too, while India announced a safety review and new instructions later on Monday or Tuesday for local carriers. Australia's number 2 airline, Virgin Australia, said it was too early to comment on whether its order of Boeing 737 MAX 8s will change. Now, I've flown in Australian Virgin Airlines. I think the Virgin Airlines are really old. Australia's Virgin Airlines, they're quite safe, but they're quite noisy as well. Yeah. The airline has ordered 30 of the Boeing 737 MAX 8 and 10 Boeing 737 MAX 10s, with the first due to be delivered at the end of the year. So Australia has ordered seven of the Boeing 737s. So they want to decommission the airlines because a lot of the Virgin Airlines are quite big airliners. And when I flew in the Virgin airline, they were half filled. So a lot of the airline companies want to switch to smaller airlines, and that's why they're going for the 737. But you know, the 737 has a bad reputation now. So a lot of people will now be trying to avoid the small airlines now, okay, and they'll be trying to fly the big ones. So Ethiopian Airlines has also made the first all-female crew flight in Africa. So yeah, there we go. And they have female pilots as well, which is very intriguing. Little the last crash was in 1997 after a hijacking. Journalist Mohammed Amin was on the plane. Yeah, so yeah, I remember that as a kid. Or seeing the aircraft investigation stories. There used to be a TV show on that. I saw something like that. It's landed on the ocean, didn't it? So double I again. In 1997, hijackers crashed Ethiopian Airlines on the Comoros Islands. Yeah, that was it. Mohammed Amin was a veteran journalist on board. Yeah. Was it Mohammed Amin? Wasn't he the Egyptian? Egyptian. Okay. Ethiopian Airlines also had the first female crew flight. Okay, I read that. Boeing. Okay, I read 30. Okay, the airline had ordered. So this Virgin Australia had ordered 30 of the Boeing 737 Maxes 8 and 10 Boeing 737 Maxes 10s, with the first due to be delivered at the end of the year. So end of 2019. So I hope they're going to change their mind now. A lot of these people are going to change their mind. And I certainly won't be flying in that. Miss me, please. Miss me with that bullshit. All right. I'm not flying in that airline. So, in the US, Southwest and American Airlines, the biggest US operators of the Boeing 737 MAX 8, said they stood by the new plane. Oh, yeah, of course. Of course, they're going to stand by their product. So, yeah, they make it, so they're going to stand by it. Okay, even if it kills them. Yeah. So, morning. At the crash site, men in Red Cross jackets and face masks picked through the large crater, bagging body parts and items like clothing, boarding passes, serviettes, and other personal effects. There you go. Yeah, that's very sad. So the caption on here, the Red Cross workers combed the scene of the crash for evidence and personal belongings. Photo by AP. The dead included aid workers, doctors, professors of literature and botany, a law student, a newlywed woman, a father soon expecting a child, and a couple who recently had a baby. In Nairobi, a major hub for aid workers and diplomats in Africa, a summit opened with a moment of silence and tears of the UN members killed. So that was what was going to take place in Nairobi. So yeah, that was what was going to take place in Nairobi. It was one of the biggest catastrophes we have had in years, said Michael Muller, UN head in Geneva. So here, mourners attended memorial service held by Association of Ethiopian Airline Pilots. The Ethiopian Airlines said its pilot, Yarid Getachew, who was a dual Ethiopian-Kenyan national, had a commendable record and more than 8,000 hours of flying experience. Oh, right, okay. I heard 200 hours, but then 8,000 is quite a lot of hours. The airplane was received in November 2018 had flown more than 1,200 hours and returned from Johannesburg earlier on Sunday. Chief Executive T. Wolde Mariam said Getchu had mentioned difficulties and wanted to return. The flight had unstoppable vertical speed after takeoff. The flight tracking website Flight Trader 24 tweeted, the Sweden-based service said the aircraft had climbed almost 1,000 feet after takeoff from Addis Ababa, a hot and high-altitude airport whose thinner air requires extra effort from an aircraft's engines. It has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with that. It dipped about 450 feet before rapidly climbing another 9,000 feet until the point where satellite tracking data was lost. Okay, so here's why they blame the sensors. Okay, this is why they blame the sensors, because it dipped 450 feet and then climbed again before the smoke started coming out. So yeah. Anyway, that was the end of that article. Here's another one. The Greek passenger stopped at gate from boarding doomed Ethiopian Airline. Yeah, you can check that out. Why did I close that one? Okay, that's not what I wanted to read. Yeah, so so that had concluded my article. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed tweeted his condolence as well. Thought I had that. Yeah, so double I. This is another story for another day. Okay, but this stream is about Ethiopia. You know, yeah, this is the article that I was looking for. Okay, this is the Ethiopian Airline 737. Okay, so an Ethiopian airline passenger flight from Addis Ababa has crashed on its way to Nairobi, killing all 157. So I've read a similar story. So the office of Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed was the first to announce the crash on Twitter, sending deepest condolences to the families of those that have lost their loved ones. Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta said he was saddened by the news, writing on Twitter, "My prayers go to all families and associates of those on board." Ethiopians head to Wolde Mariam also arrived at the accident scene hours later, confirming there were no survivors. Emergency response centers were also set up for family and friends in both Addis Ababa and the main international airport in Nairobi. Boeing said in a statement its technical team was ready to provide technical assistance at the request and under the direction of the U.S. National Transport Safety Board. So this is a tweet from Abiy Ahmed, the office of the Prime Minister. On behalf of the government and the people of Ethiopia, would like to express its deepest condolences to the families of those that have lost their loved ones on Ethiopian Airlines Boeing 737 on regular scheduled flight to Nairobi, Kenya this morning. So this came 6 p.m. 10th of March 2019. Okay, so here's a tweet from is it a tweet? Yeah, a tweet from Ethiopian Airlines. Accident bulletin number 2 issued on 10th of March 2019 at 1:46 p.m. Ethiopian Airlines Group CEO deeply regrets the fatal accident involved on ET302, so Eastern, March 10th, on a scheduled flight from Addis Ababa to Nairobi. The group CEO, who is at the accident scene right now, regrets to confirm that there are no survivors. He expresses his profound sympathy and condolences to the families and loved ones of passengers and crew who lost their lives in this tragic accident. So yeah. Sweden-based flight tracking platform Flight Radar 24 said the plane's vertical speed was unstable after takeoff. Ethiopian confirmed the aircraft was Boeing 737 MAX, the same model that was involved in the Lion Air flight that crashed in October 2018, a few minutes after departing from Jakarta, Indonesia. So Indonesia is also a troubled country with extremists. So Islamic extremists in Indonesia, and you have the same thing in Somalia. Ethiopia. So yeah, you cannot rule out foul play. So yeah, you cannot rule out foul play. So he is a Kenyan Indian journalist. Oh right, okay, double I. So you're talking about Mohammed Amin. Okay. Yeah. I read an article about another journalist that was jailed in Egypt as well, but he's been released. He was jailed under Mohammed Mercy, and he's been released by Al-Sisi, of Egypt. So yeah, journalists being jailed and stuff like that, that needs to stop. In Africa, we still have these kind of African leaders who think they are untouchable. That when you speak against the government, it's like committing a felony. Yeah. Okay. So the news article continues saying that the crash could constitute a huge setback for Ethiopian, which has built a stellar reputation as one of the world's fastest growing international airlines and Africa's largest carrier over the last decade through investments in aircraft and airport expansion. Regional and continental partnerships coupled with smart marketing and PR efforts. The airline has mostly turned around any negative perceptions of being an African airline in a continent where most local international airlines have struggled. Yeah. So as of January, Ethiopian was operating a fleet of 111 planes and was flying to more than 119 international passenger and cargo destinations, with over 61 of those in Africa alone. Victims of the crashed Ethiopian Airlines ET302. So yeah, I already went through that. So yeah. The leading casualty came from Kenya, 32, and Canada, the next 18 from Canada. So you can see a whole lot of nationalities here. So this has really sparked a global, global awareness into aviation safety and concern, global concern into this issue here. Okay. So the state carrier has experienced at least 60 accidents and incidents in its over 70-year existence. So that's quite 60 accidents in 70 years. That's quite that's quite huge. So the state carrier has experienced at least 60 accidents and incidents in its over 70 years existence, according to the aviation safety database. In 1988, more than 30 people died after one of its jets lost power in one engine and crashed in the northwestern Ethiopian city of Bahir Dar. In 1996, a hijacked Ethiopian airline ran out of fuel and crashed into the sea just off a beach in Comoro Island, killing 125 of the 175 people on board. And in 2010, all 90 people on board a flight from the Lebanese capital died after their plane crashed into the Mediterranean Sea minutes after taking off in a stormy weather. So this article is from Quartz Africa Weekly. Yeah. So yeah. So yeah, that has concluded my I'll stop. Okay, I'll stop sharing my screen now. Make Africa free again, Museveni. Is that what he said? Double I. Now, yeah, it's very tragic news coming from Ethiopia. The news had hit Australians really hard, even though no Australians at this stage were involved or are casualties of the tragedy. But yeah, it's really sad that there is quite a large Ethiopian community here in Australia, especially here in Melbourne. I used to go to church with them, and yeah, it's great tragedy. African presidents need to realize they are not our fathers. Leave means leave. Yeah, Museveni thinks he's pharaoh or something. Yeah, this is really sad. Even the president of Morocco as well. You know, the president of Morocco. What is his name? Bouteflika. He does want to step down, even though he's in a wheelchair. You know, he's in a wheelchair. So it's really sad with the African president. Except Ghana, which is, I think Ghana shows great, or like what would I call it? Ghana is a great role model, when it comes to democracy in Africa. Okay, so um, you know, every other African country needs to follow that. I think Mauritius is a great one too. Mauritius has a very good democratic um, government, great reputation. South Africa is a good one too. Yeah. Nigeria. I'm not too sure about Nigeria. I'm not too sure about Nigeria. But their election this year was quite controversial. But yeah, I'm glad they had a peaceful election. But yeah, Botswana as well, right? Botswana, yes. Kenya, no, not too sure about Kenya. There's always turmoil when it comes to Kenyan elections. But yeah, you know, I think Namibia is a good one too. Namibia has a very good president. Um, yeah, Senegal as well. A lot of African countries are going to the pole in the coming years. So this year and the next year. Why do African presidents go overseas to get treatment? I don't know, brother. I don't know. It's just beyond stupid. Okay, it's just beyond stupid. The African heads of states do that, wasting taxpayers' money to go overseas to get treatment. Why can't they be treated here? Part of the problem is that they're too old. Okay, they're too old. They want to go. They want to seek extension for their lives. They, they're all over 60 years old, and when they fall ill, it's usually life threatening, and they go overseas for treatment because they know that if they get treated in Africa, they'll probably not make it. You know, they go to London to get eye checkup. Oh, that's really sad, isn't it? That's very sad. Yeah. So, what was it? Putin made a claim. It's died down now, but you know, Putin made a claim that you know, when an African president, an African gets educated in the West, sends his children to the West, uh, lives in the West, buys mansions in the West, and when he dies, he gets buried in Africa. Okay, it's sad, but this is what it is. It is really sad, and it shows how corrupt Africa is, and how complicit uh, these Western countries are as well. That they encourage the corruption in Africa. Okay, why should these Western countries allow an African country's head of state, an African country which is in debt, okay, but they allow the head of state to have mansions in Switzerland. They allow the heads of state to spend, lavishly overseas. Okay, why do they allow that? Okay, they're culprits as well. Okay, these Western countries are to blame for the downfall of Africa. Okay, so then a lot of these people they point fingers at Africa and say, "Oh, look, Africans are corrupt, Africans that," but Europeans allow it. These Western countries allow the corruption of Africa, and I say it all the time that you know when the government, African governments are destabilized, okay, this is when the European countries or the Western countries go in and get the natural resources. They go in and get the natural resources out of Africa for little than the right prices, the appropriate prices for these natural resources. They basically pay nothing for these natural resources. You know, so Africa is not making enough money from the natural resources. It's being taken out of Africa to these Western countries. You know, you have a bag of cocoa selling for like $20. Okay, but then you have a chocolate bar, a single chocolate bar selling for like $10. I mean, it's really sad. So yeah, it's high time Africans wake up. The youth in Africa, they don't want to take it anymore. The youth in Africa, they don't want to take it anymore. So the revolution is coming, and all these old heads of states in Africa, they just need to go. Okay, they just need to go. All right, so yeah, so cocoa is harvested in Ivory Coast for cheap labor, and then it's sold back to Africa as Cadbury for $10. Yeah, that's right. So the average cocoa farmer makes less than $10. Makes less than $2 a day. The cocoa farmer, okay, in Africa makes less than $2 a day. You know, so it is really really sad. It is really 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 sad what's going on. You know what's going on. So yeah, all these things needed to be done, to keep Africa deprived, so they could keep raping the continent. Yeah, yeah, they make $2 per kilo. Yeah, and basically the African gets nothing for that kilo. He probably gets nothing, few cents maybe. So yeah. Um, yeah. So yeah. Thanks to everyone for joining the stream. I wouldn't make this too long. It's 10 p.m. I need to get ready for bed. I will come back tomorrow and I will report on Mauritius Independence Day. I know you guys in Africa and in the United States, it's early hours of um, Tuesday, March the 12th, and it is Mauritius Independence Day. In tragic times like this, we must look forward to things that cheer us up, you know. And on this day, we celebrate Mauritius Independence Day. Okay, Independence Day from Britain. So I will be covering that tomorrow. Although tomorrow would be the 13th for me here in Australia, but I'm pretty sure people in Africa will still be celebrating Mauritius' 51st independence anniversary. So yeah, double I. When are you visiting the barber shop? I do need a new haircut, don't I? I need a new haircut. Yeah, I need a new haircut. So uh, maybe next week, definitely next week, I need a new haircut. I would like to have a new haircut next week. So yeah, we shall have the barbershop episode 4. And yeah, I'll be catching up with my mates in the barbershop. Yeah. So would you like to come, Double I? It's in Footscray. So yeah, solo barbershop. So yeah, it would be good to see you do some vlogs in Melbourne CBD. Yeah, I'd love to go and do some vlogs in Melbourne CBD. Yeah, so yeah, I would love to go on the streets of Melbourne and ask random people random questions. So yeah, did you see my video on the Jamaican festival? You can go through my channel and uh see that I interviewed quite some very interesting people um at the Jamaican festival. So yeah, go through my archives and have a look at that. So yeah. All right, double I. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to I haven't got a chance to buy myself a mic. I've got a very good camera, but once I'm able to get a mic, I'll be able to go out there on the streets and do some proper street videos. So ask Melbourne people about African and stuff like that. Yeah, I'd love to do that. Sounds very interesting. I'd love to do something like that. Yeah, yeah. Thanks for the suggestion. I'll work at doing something like that. It would be very interesting. On the weekend we had the Moomba festival, but I didn't want to go because of there's always the the clashes and the African gangs, the so-called African gangs, and the youth, the crazy youth, always causing trouble. So I didn't want to be a part of that. I didn't want to be a part of that. But yeah. Yeah, I'd rather stay away from things like that. But eventually, I could venture into places like that, but I'll just stay in like a safe zones and do what I can do. Two young people fighting cannot be gangs. Yeah, that's right. That's true. Yeah. Mm. So yeah, it wasn't too bad this Moomba, but people try to you know um, make something out of nothing, really. if two white people fight, it is not a gang. Two black people, it is a gang. Yeah, when two or more black people are gathered, it's a gang, isn't it? Even if it's a family, even if it's a family of mother, father, and children, it's a gang. It's an African gang. Yeah. So yeah, yeah. The media is just so evil, you know. The media is just so evil. But yeah, let us not pay attention to things like that. You know, I always laugh when I hear news like that. I always laugh because I know it's not true. You know, I know it's not true. So yeah, this concludes my stream. Thank you, Double I, for staying back with me. I hope you have a good night. It's getting cold in Melbourne, isn't it? But yeah, it's getting a bit cool. I wouldn't say cold, but it's getting cool. Cold is when it's minus 40 degrees in Chicago. That's cold. That's cold. Minus 40 degrees. That's cold. I want I want to arrange a group of 200 African youth to just walk through Melbourne CBD to get people's reaction. Oh my God! Please don't do that. Double I, please don't do that. All right, don't do that. You will scare a lot of people. You will scare a lot of people if you do something like that. You know, you will cause a lot of hysteria. So, wow, wow. Don't let them call the army, please. Do not let them call the army. Yeah, wearing suits. I don't see wearing suits wouldn't help. They'll get a heart attack. Yeah, definitely. Wearing suits won't help. Once they see it's Africans, they're not gonna look at your suits. They're just gonna see all they will see is Africans. So yeah, they're just gonna have a heart attack. So yeah, yeah. Anyway, brother, I have to go. I have to get some sleep. I am quite exhausted from work today. I've got a 6 a.m. start. So yeah, again, my condolences to the Ethiopian family throughout Africa. Everyone is mourning. Everyone of African descent. If you hear this news and it touches you, extend your condolences to the family members of everyone that lost their lives in this tragedy. And let us pressure the aviation industry to make safer airlines. You know, safer airlines. So yeah, it is what it is. So yeah, do not fly the 737. Yeah, your safety should be number one. Your safety should be paramount. Okay, don't board a budget airline just because the flight is cheap. Make sure the airline is safe. Okay, make sure. Usually when the airlines are cheap, they cut corners. Okay, they cut corners, and cut, you know, costs, especially getting qualified engineers to service the planes. When you cut corners and you cut costs and stuff like that, then your quality goes down as well. So it is what it is. Basically, you get what you pay for. But aside as it is, um, let us remember the victims. Okay, and again, I say the victims are the surviving family members. Okay, the victims are not the deceased. Okay, the deceased are dead and gone. The victims are the family members. So yeah, my condolences again to everyone that was affected. And by all means, if you have any disturbances, please call your helpline for counseling, and be in touch with friends and family. Okay. All right, family. Have a good night. Stay safe and travel safe. Peace out. Giordano signing out. Peace out. Peace, love, and blessings to people of Ethiopia and Kenya and all over the world. Peace out.